Disjunct is one of the class of a verb as long as be adjunct conjunct subject. A disjunct sentences transcends the adjunct. Here express the word speakers attitudes, what is stated in the sentence. For example, the face is best of all. The sentence, but best of all, Mrs. Jesus underneath his clothes. Or is the sentence being made in a particular way? For example, to be honest, in the sentence, to be honest, the whole yard was in a mess. Ellipsis is a part of the sentence omitted because the meaning can easily be recovered through linguistic. Heavy no servants as the can hundreds. The word hundreds in an ellipsis of I have hundreds of servants. And focus refers to the number positioning of the most important information of the message at the end of the sentence. For example, in the sentence, the king covered being out of a party, captures an island, and they were going to share a cup of milk, and focus lies in the parts of the party and island a cup of milk, which are those containing the most important information in the sentence. An epithet is a category adjective that indicates a quality of the noun to which they refer. The poor people, the dirty clothes, is big bad. Essential central sentence element. There are elements in a sentence that are needed to produce a meaningful current utterance. The most central element is the verb without which a sentence is unacceptable. The next most central element is the subject. For example, in the sentence here, Yoon is stretching himself. The verb Yoon has stretched the most essential sentence elements, followed by the subject E. Essential central elements have a full flexibility of movement within sentences that peripheral sentence elements. Anyway. Fan verbs, these are verbs which carry tense and agreement in a verb phrase. Only the first verb is finite, and therefore ed and eng participles in infinitive verbs are not in this category. For example, in the following sentence, the king was snoring loudly and the king will lean on his balcony. Holly was and would are finite verbs. Form. These refer to the shade external characteristics of a linguistic element. In contrast to the function, for example, noun phrase, a category which refers to a particular form, although a noun phrase can function as subject or object in a sentence. Fronting. These refer to the placing on the initial sentence position of a sentence element, which does not usually take up such position. In a marked sentence position, the subject in the element most frequently found in this position. Fronting, therefore, usually involves sentence elements other than the subject. For example, the fronting of the variable in across the bay A was verb, the city of Naples subject. Function. The term function contrasts the form with regard to the sentence. Refers to the 5 elements as VOCA. Subject, verb, object, complement, and variable, which are also defined because of the function they have within the sentence. The following example, the proper name wash has the function of subject. Wash rubbed his head against her head. But in the sentence, she saw wash was the functional object. Functional grammar is a theory of grammar which describes the way in which language functions grammatically and socially rather than formally. Elidane is functional grammar. Longman, 1985, 1994, states that this type of grammar is functional in the sense that it's designed to explain how the language is actually used. Functional sentence perspective, FSP. Functional sentence perspective is a theory developed by Prague School and refers to the further information in a sentence. It's organized to form a message. FSP is considered by Halliday to be a text-created component of language. Danes states that FSP is concerned with how the grammar and semantic structure function in a very active communication. Generative grammar is the theory of grammar first introduced by Chomsky, and syntactic structure, modern 1959, tries to provide an explicit statement of the rules that apply to the construction of sentences. Generative grammar is not concerned with actual sentences in the language, but with possible sentences. Hierarchical levels. This level refers to system levels or ranks within grammar. In syntax, the highest level is usually considered to be the sentence, passing through the different levels or ranks of clause, phrase, and word reach the lowest level or rank, the Morphem. Information-based structure. This structure will reflect how the information being conveyed is presented to the message receiver and the way in which the most important part of the message is focused. Terms theme and rhyme are commonly used to describe the structure. Informativity level refers to the level of importance a linguistic element has given information in a sentence. The more unpredictable the element is, the higher its informativity level. Totally predictable elements have a low level of informativity. For example, in the sentence, the king and Mrs. Jill were married in a great style. The preposition has a low informativity level, in contrast to the participle married, which has a high informative level. Transitive verbs, these are verbs such as to arrive, to go, to come, that unlike transitive verbs, do not take a direct object. Language universal. The term language universals reveals features of language identified as common to all natural languages. Marked. The term marked describes any feature of language that is uncommon, infrequent, and unusual, and that consequence a high informativity level. The term contrasts with unmarked, which refer to more basic, frequent, and common language features. Medial position refers to a position in the middle of a sentence, usually between subject and verb. Mrs. Jill was just finished the supper. The verb just is in the medial position. Less frequently, it can refer to the position immediately after the verb. Her tiny house was always full of steam. The adverb always is medial position immediately after the verb. Morphem is a small and meaningful part into which a word can be broken down. For example, the verb finish has two morphem, finish and ed. They know wash a woman as four morphem, wash, er, who, and man. Morphology in the branch of grammar regarding the analysis of word structure. Morphology can be divided into two subclasses: derivational morphology, the study of how words are formed, and inflectional morphology, the study of how lexical items vary from grammatical purpose. Noun phrase, a single word or group of words functioning in the sentence. Exactly like a noun. She did her washing and agreed with boiler. The single word she and the group's words are washing and agreed with boiler can all be classified as noun phrase. Numerative describe a word that refers to an amount of quantity. For example, in the following phrases, the words one, all, and many are numeratives. One and all is servants the many times. An object is one of the five functional sentence elements, the other elements being subject, verb, complement, adverbial. An object is usually in the form of a noun phrase in an unmarked position. Follows the verb. Object can be direct or indirect. A direct object can be animated or inanimate, is affected by the verbal action. An indirect object is usually animated and is the recipient or direct of the direct object. For example, in the sentence, the rich gave advice, the rich is the animate indirect object, recipient of advice, and the advice is an inanimate direct object. It's affected by the verb gave.